Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Hello again, everyone, and thanks for being here for this Monday's edition of Alaska Weather. Yesterday, satellite imagery showed west-southwest flow coming up, clouds down through here with some rain, and then colder air coming southeastward, or mostly east-southeast into the northwest Bering Sea there. And this flow backing up along the Alaska Range, so breaking out here for the North Gulf Coast, and some moisture sliding down the Panhandle. And up to the north yesterday, a lot of snow, blowing snow going on up there, especially western Brooks Range on up to the Arctic coast, and less of that down to the south. But today you'll see that this continued to pull eastward here, upper level trough coming down from the north, southwest flow increasing. So we had actually some moisture come across, make it across the mountains there into the northern Cook Inlet area on up across the Talkeetnas, clearing down to the south though. And then the Gulf of Alaska here, developing an area of moisture and snowing this afternoon, Yakutat on down along the coast there, possibly Elfin Cove, but nothing yet on down to the south. And a lot less in the way of wind up here to the north along the Arctic coast. There you can see back edge of some clouds coming southward there onto the north slope. And on the chart today, weak low up here over the northeast there, right over the Yukon Flats, and northwest flow coming in and bands of snow or showers, flurries, or light snow with it here as colder air comes down on that northwesterly flow. Snow showers will begin to increase and continue here along the Alaska Peninsula and Aleutian Range areas, and then some light snow again south central Alaska northward into the Tanana Valley on up into the Koyukuk Valley, and again developing snow here over the northeast Gulf Coast there from again north of Sitka on up to about Yakutat. Showers on the increase here over the Gulf of Alaska, and then high pressure out west keeping that front, giving it kind of a hard time to push eastward. But pretty strong ridge out there, 1,041 millibars extending northward there across the Russian Far East, right into the Arctic, and then the easterly flow coming around that. It's got some rain locked in, light rain, periods of there from Atka westward to Shemya, and this kind of dropped across the eastern Aleutians earlier today for some rain and snow showers around Unalaska and Nikolsky, and gale force winds coming into the picture there ahead of that front out over the far western Aleutians. That's going to continue into tonight. Rain again, be pretty light and scattered, kind of right on the edge there from Atka, but the farther west you go, the better chance with the gale force winds out again west of Amchitka Island. Pretty nice here over the Bering Sea though, not a lot of wind at all, just variable clouds and gradually falling temperatures there with a northerly flow coming down out of the Chukchi Sea here, but really not a big increase in the winds there. A little gustier from St. Lawrence Island, especially for the Bering Strait there, but nothing too terrible. And still looking at some clouds and maybe some light snow at times, or snow showers, Kenai Peninsula northward there, Susitna Valley, probably to a lesser extent with the gradient getting a little more downsloping off the Alaska Range there. Also colder temperatures coming in with it. And that's going to keep it, in spite of the northwest winds there, chance of snow showers, Kodiak Island mostly cloudy. And Prince William Sound starting to clear out a little bit with this pretty nice low center here developing over the eastern Gulf of Alaska due to the upper level trough coming southward. And definitely cold enough, maybe some mixed precipitation to start with here in advance of the front later tonight, but there are winter storm warnings out for the Panhandle for 6 to 10 inches of snow beginning actually 9 p.m. tonight and continuing through the day tomorrow. But at least for the southern areas, it'll start to taper off up to the north throughout the day tomorrow. Otherwise, most of the light snow will be along the Alaska Range north and northeastward, and some flurries lingering up there along the Arctic coast. The exception being the blizzard warning that's out for the eastern Arctic coast tonight. Winds 20 to 30 miles an hour, gusts to 50, and maybe picking up 1 to 2 inches of snow. So that will result in visibilities down to a quarter mile or less at times. That starts at midnight tonight and continues into the day tomorrow. So looking at Tuesday, this low slips eastward here and lots of cold air coming in. So it looks like snow right down to sea level there, even almost down to Dixon Entrance, but snow letting up here to the northern areas. And very tight gradient now across the North Gulf Coast, southern Alaska. So that's downsloping winds, drier conditions clearing out here for the roughly probably west of Yakutat into Prince William Sound. Skies gradually clearing here over south central Alaska, and just some lingering flurries along the Alaska Range, with the moisture diminishing throughout the day and becoming more limited over there toward the Northway on up to just south of Eagle. Otherwise high pressure and pretty chilly temperatures. In fact, highs tomorrow just barely getting above zero out here over the western areas, and of course staying below zero on up to the north. Again, that windy condition, blizzard warning for the eastern Arctic coast. Much nicer back to the west with clear skies, and then the cold air coming out over the open water there, picking up, probably will produce some snow showers here for the Pribilof Islands along that frontal boundary into the Alaska Peninsula, mostly on the Bering Sea side. Chance of snow showers for Unalaska, so nothing really heavy at all in here, and all the milder conditions with the wind will remain out to the west there as this 1,048 millibar high keeps and directs everything up to the north and northwest. And for Wednesday, not much of a change out there, except this low center kind of sneaks in underneath, keeps the gale force winds going, well, a little bit less than gale. There'd be some minimum gales with that, but dropping below gale force for the Shemya area, but rain maybe to Adak, and that's about it. Pretty nice here for the Fox Islands, Alaska Peninsula. Still some snow showers going on there for the, I'll say from Port Hayden up to Pilot Point, and then maybe Shelikof Strait, Kodiak Island, mostly cloudy, some light snow showers possible. Pretty windy conditions as well. Still got small craft advisories going for, say, the Barren Islands there, and channeled areas in the North Gulf Coast. Pretty strong winds, but forecast only as northeast 20 for Prince William Sound. And be through the passes, kind of windy for the Alaska Range too, but no wind, clear skies, and pretty chilly temperatures throughout the interior. And then another trough swinging down from the northwest will bring a chance of flurries or light snow, mostly to the central Arctic coast, back down to the southwest, but nothing very heavy. And doesn't look like the winds will pick up all that much with the blizzard warning course over on the east side there. Much better on Wednesday than it will be later tonight and tomorrow up there on the eastern Arctic coast. That low center one drives eastward into Canada, but a band of moisture here, kind of an Arctic boundary actually right through there. So periods of snow continue again here central, southern, southeast coast, drier to the north, snow showers out in the Gulf of Alaska. And anyway, so temperatures for today down that way, all in the mid to upper 30s today, 39 Sitka, also down at Annette. State capital, 36 degrees, 31 and some snow in Yakutat, up to 35 for Cordova. Mid to upper 20s here, south central Alaska, down to 22 in Talkeetna. 14, kind of a range for the Copper River Basin there, 14 at Gunsight, 24 at McCarthy. And up to the north there, Northway, 21, 24 at Fairbanks, and 22 over at Tanana. Mid-20s right down the Alaska Range here into Iliamna, northeast Bristol Bay in the lower 30s. And up to the north, -6 at Bettles, 7 above Fort Yukon, -6 Anatuvik, 12 at Bettles. And kind of chilly on the Arctic coast now. Temperatures running 20 to 30 below on the east side and about 15 or so below on the west side. And just a shade below zero here for the northwest from -5 at Cape Lisburne to -1 there at Wales, 5 above Fort Nome, 8 for Savunga, and 20 degrees here for McGrath, near 20 all the way down there to Bethel with 15 at Amonic and 24 at Macoriac. For the Pribilofs, both St. Paul and St. George had 34 this afternoon, up to 46 again at Atka, upper 30s out to the west, and 38 in Unalaska, mid to upper 30s for the Alaska Peninsula. Lows for tonight, 20 to 30 below up here to the north from, the north slope on out to the Arctic coast. A little below zero here for the Tanana Valley, back to the southwest, 6 degrees for Macoriac, and St. Lawrence Island dropping below zero once again, down to the lower 20s for the Pribilofs, and teens here to 20s for the Alaska Peninsula, 20s for the southeast coast. And highs tomorrow, coldest there, north of the Brooks Range out to the Arctic coast, 15 or 10 to 20 below for the highs, and just barely coming above zero here over the southwest interior, right up to the Seward Peninsula, and then 0 to 5 or 5 to 10 there for the Tanana Valley, and a chillier day here south central Alaska. Temperatures struggling to reach 20 degrees, and they probably won't except down along the coast, 20s to lower 30s for the southeast coast. And for flying weather late tonight, IFR here, extreme eastern side, but marginal for the southeast coast, IFR north side of the Alaska Range, and then IFR out there to the west, as well as marginal conditions. And then for tomorrow afternoon, just improving here, IFR now just lingering over the far eastern and eastern Alaska Range, also the eastern Arctic coast. Lots of EFR breaking out here, marginal for the Pribilofs to the eastern Aleutians, and a band IFR way out west. And now the moisture coming or improve as it shifts southward, VFR will be working its way behind it off to the southeast there, but staying pretty marginal for the southern panhandle. And for passes, Anatuvik, marginal VFR, mainly on the northern entrance, VFR to the south. That same pattern holds for Adigan, and for Lake Clark and Merrill, good VFR tomorrow. Rainy, starting out marginal, will become VFR. Windy, marginal VFR, mostly on the northern entrance. Isabel, north side, marginal, south side, VFR. Same pattern for Montesta. Tanita, VFR. And Portage, VFR. Chilcoot and White, improving throughout the day. IFR maybe to start with or marginal, trending toward VFR as you get into the afternoon and beyond. And the freezing levels now 2,000 feet near Kodiak Island late tonight, early tomorrow morning, back along the Aleutians at the surface here, right across southern Cook Inlet, in across Prince of Wales Island. And looking at, icing here, should have been the icing chart, but anyway, be some over the southeast coast, obviously, where the snow is, that'd be where the icing will occur. And again, that'll be shifting off to the south throughout the day and improving over the northern areas. And then there would have been some more icing out here to the west with that front. Now, the upper level wind flow chart, again, a big ridge out here over the western Bering Sea. Northwest flow up to 70 knots there. Cold upper trough here coming eastward along the North Gulf Coast, and that's going to produce all the snow and the winter storm warnings, which are out for the panhandle there for the 6 to 10 inches of snow. And moving to 9,000 feet. Northeasterlies 25 to 50 knots coming right across the central Alaska Range at this elevation, north 40 there down across Kodiak. And strong southwest flow, mostly south of Dixon entrance here, otherwise 25 knots. Actually, the southern areas there are pretty light, but through the interior, northeast 30 to as high as 45 knots, lighter for the Bering or for the eastern Bering and Aleutians, coming back up 45 to 65 out over the western Aleutians and Bering. And 3,000 feet southeast, 40 to 50 out here. Much lighter toward the Fox Islands, northeast only 20 to 25 there for the eastern Bering Sea, northerlies 20 to 30, maybe 40 knots there coming down across Kodiak Island. Could see some northeast winds 30 to 40 knots here along the North Gulf Coast there, Yakutat, possibly eastward. Otherwise, not too much in the way of wind for the panhandle. So taking a look at the turbulence graphic here, we've got moderate chop along the North Gulf Coast, all the way down to Kodiak Island, all of south central Alaska, that tightening gradient along the mountains. Otherwise, light to very isolated moderate in areas here of the west coast. And with winds are strongest there for the eastern Arctic coast, moderate below about 4,000. Also, same pattern out here for the central to the western Aleutians, some moderate chop. And after the break, Hangar Flying, I'll be back to look at the ice edge and the marine forecasts.
Good afternoon. I'm Rocky Capozzi, and on behalf of Alaska Public Media and the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation, welcome to Hangar Flying. Our guest this afternoon is Drew Budig. He's a third-year aviation student at UAA. Welcome, Drew.
Thank you for having me.
So, Drew, what got you interested in aviation?
So, my grandpa, he was a bush pilot, so it's kind of in my blood. Actually, him and my uncle owned Skyways Alaska. It was Regal before Regal.
I see. Are you an Alaska native then? You grew up here?
Yep, born and raised in Anchorage.
So what are you studying at UAA?
So at UAA, I'm doing their aviation management program, but next semester I will be transferring down to Arizona State to eventually do a double major in air transportation management and unmanned aerial systems.
Okay, so unmanned aerial systems, you're looking to the future here. What, obviously something tickled your interest there. What was it?
It's just the rapid expansion of small unmanned aerial systems and just the possibility of eventually starting my own company to do movies, aerial photography, surveying, basically anything.
Terrific. So what are your plans then after graduation? It sounds like you've got some sort of vague ideas, or do you have any immediate plans following your undergraduate degree?
So after my undergraduate degree, it really just depends. I'm thinking either of doing a master's in human factors or just going out and trying to start my own UAS operating company.
Okay, so you're gonna dive into the big pool and maybe go into business for yourself right away. Mm-hmm. Okay, I understand in addition to being a UAA student that you work at the Medallion Foundation. What do you do at the Medallion Foundation?
So at the Medallion Foundation, I'm a receptionist, ATD, which is an aviation training device support technician. So I help people if they have problems and just do really quick fixes so they can get back to flying. And I'm also an FAA proctor. Okay, so aviation training device, how do you differentiate that from a simulator and an aviation training device? What's the difference? So ATD, an aviation training device, is a non-motion, so it's they like to call them desktop models, so they just sit on a desk and simulate a aircraft configuration, where a simulator is either a full motion or a certain level, they call it. There's I think A through D's level simulators. Okay, and most of what the Medallion Foundation operates are ATDs? Yeah, ATDs. So we have ATDs, BATDs, and AATDs, which it's aviation training devices, basic aviation training devices, and advanced aviation training devices. Okay, all right. So have you found that your work in the Medallion Foundation, has that helped you in your studies at all, or did you see any correlation between the two? Yeah, a huge correlation. So at the Medallion Foundation, you get a lot of experience. Aviators coming in and just associating with them, talking to them, getting their stories out, has really skyrocketed my aviation knowledge about basically everything. Good. So is it a two-way street? Do you learn from them as well as they learn from you, maybe? Yeah. I teach them how to use the sims and everything like that, and they teach me common knowledge of how to fly and how to do all this stuff, so it's definitely a two-way street. So you've probably gotten to see a lot of different pilots at different stages of development using the equipment down there. Do you have any safety advice for pilots that maybe are thinking about using your equipment, or the way they could best use your equipment? Yeah, so my advice to the pilots that are watching out there is just use them. It can save your life. You can do situations that you wouldn't dare do it in a real plane. You can do it in a simulator, get used to it, so if you have to use it in a real airplane, you can do it safely and proficient so you don't have an accident. And if you have an accident in the sims, you can just press reset and you're off flying again. Yeah, gotcha. You can always walk away from that sim accident. Yeah. So you work here in Anchorage. Are there other locations where pilots can access Medallion training devices? Yeah, so if you're here in the Anchorage area, we have 9 in Anchorage, and then we also have an additional 12 in remote locations like Palmer, Homer, Soldotna, Ketchikan, Nenana, Fairbanks, Juneau, and Bethel.
I think people living there might take issue with being called remote, but understand what you mean is they're just not here in Anchorage.
Yeah.
They're in other cities here in Alaska. Well, is there anything you'd like to pass along to the audience?
Just use every resource that you have for your training. You can actually log on if you come into Anchorage, you can log certain hours on our sims. So it saves you money, and it also gives you proficiency on the aircraft that you're going to fly. And it just basically helps you get confident, and you can do what you can do in a sim is a lot different than what you can do in the airplane.
One quick question.
Yes.
Does it cost anything to use your equipment?
Absolutely not. 99% of our sims are completely free except for 2 of them, which are $85.
Well, Drew, it's been a pleasure talking to you today. Thanks for stopping in. Wish you all the best of luck with your business in the future.
Yeah, thank you.
Back, sea ice analysis today. Main stuff right near or north of St. Matthew Island. Of course, pulling back all last week into the weekend to this position, but now throughout the next 4 or 5 days, the remainder of the week, probably into the weekend, it's going to be coming back to the south with the colder air and the winds more northerly, or winds will be northerly, but not all that strong, at least to start with. So for the marine forecast here, west 35 knots, gales down on the southern southeast coast, dropping back to 15 up to the north, northerlies 25, Lynn Canal, and northeast to southeast there for the central and southern inside waters, with Clarence Strait seeing the southeast winds at 20. And that'll continue into Wednesday down there. Pick it up to northeast 25 for Stevens Passage. Northerly gales now with higher gusts for northern Lynn Canal. And we've got 25 knot winds on the south coast, becoming southeast, falling back to 20 here, and then picking back up out of the east or southeast at about 25 there for the far north end. And for Prince William Sound, small craft advisories north 25 knots, 30 knot northerlies, maybe some higher gusts here throughout Cook Inlet. 45 knot northwesterlies, Barren Islands down across, or for Kamishak Bay across the Barren Islands, and northwesterly gales also across Kodiak Island from Shelikof Strait. And looking at Wednesday, winds come down, still hanging on to some minimum gales here, Barren Islands down the east side of Kodiak. 25 knot northwest for Shelikof Strait, 30 knots there, higher gusts, Kamishak Bay. And south of the Forelands here in Cook Inlet, brisk wind advisory, otherwise northeast 20. Down to 20 knots out of the north there for Prince William Sound, but higher gusts coming out of bays and passes, north to northeast 30 with 8 to 10 foot seas for the North Gulf Coast. And for Bristol Bay, northwest 30 knots, turning northerly at the same speed here on the north side of the peninsula. And from Cape Sarachef up to Sitkinak, northwest at 30 with 35 knot winds there from Castle Cape to Sitkinak. Then for Wednesday, we've got northwest 30 to 40 knot winds here, picking it up a little bit there, and gales here on the south side of the Alaska Peninsula, north 30 there on the north side with freezing and heavy freezing spray. For the Aleutians, look for northeast 15 to 20 for the Unalaska Island area, minimum gales here from Medak and Atka, and east 40 knots from Atka to Shemya. Outlook for Wednesday, dropping back a little bit there, coming down under gale force out west. Still minimum gales here for the central Aleutians, and 20 to 25 knots for the Fox Islands. And looking at the southwest coast for tomorrow, heavy freezing spray here, coming off the ice edge north 20 to 25 knots. First wind advisory, St. Lawrence Island, northeast 20 for the Pribilofs, and just a breeze there for St. Matthew Island. For Wednesday, winds really go light here near the high center west of St. Matthew Island, northeast 20 for the Pribilofs, northerlies 20 to 25, strongest south of Nunivak Island there with heavy freezing spray again along and south of the ice edge, northwest 15 for St. Lawrence Island. And the Arctic coast tomorrow, actually tonight and tomorrow, got gale warnings there on the east side, otherwise west-northwest at 20, dropping back to 15 for the western stretch of the coastline. And then from Cape Beaufort on down to Wales, north at 15. Those become pretty light, kind of a west-northwest direction here, but only about 10 knots or less. But from Cape Thompson, west 15, picking up to about 20 knots on the central coast, and that increase continues. Brisk wind advisories on the east side, all the way over to demarcation point, so falling back down under gale force. And for tonight, again, this all the cold air coming into the Gulf of Alaska going to crank this system up here, spread a lot of moisture. Winter storm warnings out for many areas of the southeast coast with 6 to 10 inches of snow starting, I believe, at 9 p.m. this evening here. Could be a little mix there with that southeast wind as the front approaches over the southern areas, but definitely snow with any elevation at all the way up to the north. Variable clouds, snow showers, nothing really heavy here from Kodiak Island, and persistent area light snow on the north side of the mountains there, Alaska range through the Tanana Valley, but again, nothing heavy at all. Less of that here to the west. Colder temperatures coming in and southward there, so snow showers increase for the Alaska Peninsula, but dry for the Pribilofs. And that blizzard warning continues up here for the Arctic coast tonight, and it looks like rain with increasing southeast winds way out there over the western Aleutians. That'll continue through tomorrow out there, but look for a lot of clearing here, spreading in over the northern Bering Sea as well as along the southwest coast. And then you pick the moisture up here, the cold air, snow showers from the Pribilofs right down to the Unalaska Island area and the Alaska Peninsula. Snow now tapering off but persisting over the southern areas all day and maybe all night, and then a band continues there for Wednesday as this low scoots up to the northeast there. So heaviest snow definitely will be over the southern southeast coast. Lighter, colder up to the north, and channeled winds out of the north. Snow showers still a possibility for Kodiak Island. Mostly clear and cold over the interior. The chance of flurries on the western Arctic coast. Thanks for joining us.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.